They laughed when I was sold naked at an Omega auction. The ruthless masked alpha who bought me for $10 million removed his mask. And who it was blew my mind. I stood on the auction stage with the collar tight around my neck, my arms crossed over my chest, my whole body shaking under the spotlight. 200 alphas stared at me, their eyes hungry, their smiles cruel. Lot 47, the auctioneer shouted, his voice echoing through the warehouse. 22 years old, defective Omega, can't breed strong heirs. Laughter erupted from the crowd. Someone threw a dollar bill at the stage. It hit my feet. My face burned, tears streaming down my cheeks. I wanted to disappear. Starting bid at $10,000. 5,000. An alpha yelled from the front row, his grin wide. He's not worth more than that. More laughter. More jeering. My knees buckled. I bit my lip until I tasted blood. 8,000. 6,000. Final offer. The auctioneer sighed, looked bored, raised his gavel. Going once, going twice. $10 million. The room went dead silent. Every head turned toward the back. My breath caught in my throat. A masked alpha in a black suit stepped forward from the shadows, his presence commanding, terrifying. Sir, the auctioneer stammered, his face pale. Did you say $10 million? The alpha repeated, his voice cold, final. Do I need to say it again? And no sir, sold. The auctioneer's gavel slammed down. Sold to bidder 247. Guards grabbed my arms before I could process what happened, dragged me off stage, my feet barely touching the ground. My heart pounded, my mind spinning. 10 million. Why would anyone pay that much for me? They shoved me into a black SUV. I stumbled onto the leather seat, still naked, still collared. The masked alpha sat across from me, silent, his eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, watching me like a predator. I wrapped my arms around myself, my teeth chattering. Please, why did you? Don't speak, he said, his voice sharp. Not until I tell you to. Something about his voice made my chest ache. Familiar somehow, but I couldn't place it. I pressed my back against the seat, tried to make myself smaller, invisible. We drove for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes, through the city, into the hills, through massive iron gates. A mansion appeared. No, a fortress with guards stationed everywhere, lights blazing. They pulled me out of the car, my bare feet hitting cold marble, dragged me upstairs, down a hallway lined with paintings. The masked alpha walked ahead, his footsteps echoing, never looking back. They pushed me into a bedroom, locked the door behind them. I collapsed on the floor, my whole body shaking, my mind blank with terror. The room was huge, bigger than my entire apartment, with a king-sized bed and floor-to-ceiling windows. I crawled to the bathroom, turned on the shower, scrubbed my skin until it hurt, trying to wash away the humiliation, the eyes, the laughter. When I came out wrapped in a towel, I saw it. A desk by the window, covered in papers, and on top, a framed photograph. I walked closer, my heart stopping, my breath catching. It was me and another boy, maybe 12 years old, arms around each other, laughing at the camera. The other boy had messy dark hair, bright eyes, a gap-toothed smile. It was Elias, my best friend, my only friend, the boy who died 10 years ago. I was at his funeral. I cried for weeks. I never got over losing him. Why did this stranger have our photo? The door opened behind me. I spun around, the towel clutched to my chest. The masked alpha entered, closed the door, locked it with a soft click. Sit down, he ordered, pointing to the bed. I didn't move, my legs frozen, my eyes on the photo. Who are you? Why do you have that? I said sit. I sat, my hands shaking in my lap, watching as he reached up and removed his mask. My world tilted, the room spinning, my vision blurring. It was Elias, older, his face harder, a scar running down his left cheek, his eyes cold and empty, but it was him. I dropped the photo frame. It shattered on the floor, the sound impossibly loud. You're dead? I whispered, my voice breaking. I went to your funeral, I saw your casket. My family faked my death, he said, his voice flat, emotionless. I've spent 10 years building power, building wealth, waiting for this moment. What moment, Elias, what? Waiting to get my revenge. My chest tightened, my mind racing. Revenge on who? On you, Lawrence. He stepped closer, his eyes boring into mine. Your father destroyed my family, got my parents imprisoned on false charges, took everything from us. I didn't know, I said, tears spilling down my cheeks. Elias, I was 12. I didn't know anything. Liar. He grabbed my chin, forced me to look at him. You knew you had to know, and you said nothing. I didn't, I swear. I bought you to make you pay, he said, his grip tightening. For everything your family did. For every year I spent alone. For my mother dying in prison. He released me. I fell back on the bed, my whole body trembling. He reached into his pocket, pulled out another collar, this one heavier with a lock. You're mine now, he said, fastening it around my neck, the cold metal pressing against my skin. My property to break, my Omega to control, and there's nothing you can do about it. I touched the collar, my fingers shaking, my throat tight. Elias, please. That name died 10 years ago, he said, turning away. Call me sir, call me Alpha, or don't speak at all. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the handle. Get some sleep, tomorrow we start your training. Training for what? For obedience. He left, the lock clicking behind him, and I was alone. I curled up on the bed, the collar heavy around my neck, my mind spinning with memories of the boy I loved, the boy who protected me from bullies, who shared his lunch when I forgot mine, who promised we'd be friends forever. That boy was gone, replaced by this monster. I cried until I couldn't breathe, until my throat was raw, until exhaustion pulled me under. I woke to the door slamming open, Elias standing there with a folder in his hand. Sunlight streamed through the windows, morning already. How long did I sleep? Get up, he ordered. I sat up, the towel still wrapped around me, my eyes swollen from crying. He threw the folder at my feet, papers scattering across the floor. Read it, he said. All of it. I picked up the first page, my hands shaking, my vision blurry. Court documents, evidence logs, testimonies. My father's name appeared over and over, accusations of fraud, bribery, evidence tampering. Your father destroyed my family's company, Elias said, his voice hard. Made fake evidence, bribed judges, got my parents imprisoned for crimes they didn't commit. I flipped through more pages, photographs of a younger Elias visiting his mother in prison. Her face gaunt, her eyes empty. My chest tightened, my stomach turning. She died there, he continued, his fists clenched. 3 years into her sentence, she got sick, they didn't treat her, and she died alone. The last photo showed a gravestone, simple and cheap, with his mother's name and dates. I covered my mouth, tears streaming down my face. I promised her I'd make them pay, he said, his voice breaking for just a second before going cold again. Starting with you. I didn't know. I sobbed, my whole body shaking. Elias, I was a child. I didn't know any of this was happening. You never asked, you never cared, he shouted, his face inches from mine. You had everything while I had nothing. You lived in your mansion while I slept in shelters. You went to fancy schools while I fought to survive. I looked for you. I cried, my voice desperate. After your funeral, I tried to find answers. I asked my father where you were. He told me you were dead. Convenient. He grabbed the papers, shoved them back in the folder. Believe what you want, it doesn't change anything. He pulled out a legal document, thick and official looking, slammed it on the desk. Sign this. I walked over on shaking legs, looked at the papers, my vision blurring. It was a bonding contract, permanent and unbreakable under Omega law, giving him complete legal control over me. I won't sign, I whispered, my voice weak. He pulled out his phone, showed me a video feed, and my heart stopped. It was Matthew, my 16-year-old brother, walking out of school, laughing with friends, completely unaware someone was watching him. "Sign," Elias said, his voice quiet, deadly, "or I'll make sure your brother ends up at the next auction." My hand flew to my mouth, bile rising in my throat. "You wouldn't, Elias, please. Try me," he said, his eyes cold, empty. "I've already lost everything. What's one more Omega to me?" I picked up the pen, my hand shaking so hard I could barely hold it, tears dripping onto the paper. "If I sign, you'll leave Matthew alone, you promise? Sign first, then we'll talk about promises." I signed my name, each letter feeling like a death sentence, my whole body numb. He took the contract, looked it over, smiled for the first time since removing his mask. "Good boy," he said, his voice mocking. "Now strip." My head snapped up, my eyes wide. "What?" "You heard me," he said, leaning against the desk. "You were naked at the auction. You'll get used to being naked here too." "No," I said, backing away, my arms wrapped around myself. "Elias, please don't." "I'm not Elias anymore," he said, his voice rising. "And you're mine now, the contract says so. Everything you are belongs to me. We were friends," I sobbed, my back hitting the wall. "You loved me. I know you did. I read your journal. Friends don't destroy each other's families." He turned away, his shoulders tense. "Go to your room now, before I do something we both regret." I ran out, my feet pounding down the hallway, found another bedroom, and locked myself inside. I collapsed on the floor, my whole body shaking, my mind breaking. This couldn't be real, this couldn't be happening. I spotted a nightstand, pulled open the drawer, and found a small leather journal inside. My fingers trembled as I opened it, recognizing Elias's handwriting immediately. Younger, Messier. "Lawrence smiled at me today. I think I'm in love with him." I flipped through more pages, my heart breaking with each entry. "I want to tell Lawrence how I feel, but I'm scared he doesn't feel the same way. Lawrence defended me from those bullies today. He's braver than he knows." Then the final entry, the handwriting angry, harsh, bitter. "Everything's gone. Family destroyed. Life ruined. I saw Lawrence at Dad's trial today. He looked away. He knew. He knew what his father did and said nothing. I'll never forgive him." I dropped the journal, my hands covering my face, sobs racking my body. He saw me at the trial, but what he didn't know was that my father locked me in a room that day, threatened to disown me if I testified, and told me I'd end up on the streets. I was 12 and powerless and terrified. Elias thought I chose silence, thought I betrayed him. This whole revenge was built on a lie. I grabbed my own bag from the corner where someone had left it, pulled out my old journal from childhood, flipped through pages until I found what I needed. Letters to Elias's mother I never sent, pages about trying to help, about being locked away, about crying myself to sleep. I had to show him, and I had to make him understand. I ran back to his room, burst through the door without knocking. He stood by the window, his back to me, his shoulders tense. "I was at that trial," I shouted, my voice breaking. "I was there, Elias." "I know," he said without turning. "You said nothing. My father locked me in a room," I screamed, tears streaming down my face. "He threatened to disown me, to put me on the streets if I testified." I was 12 years old and terrified. He turned slowly, his face unreadable, his eyes hard. "I tried to visit your mother in prison," I continued, holding out my journal. "The guards turned me away every time. I wrote her letters they never delivered. I tried everything." I threw the journal at his feet, the pages falling open. "Read it." Read every word. "I lost my best friend. I mourned you for 10 years. I never stopped loving you." He picked up the journal, his hands shaking, read the first page, then the next, his face crumbling with each word. A letter to his mother, dated 3 months after the trial. "I'm sorry I couldn't help. My father won't let me visit. He says you're dangerous. But I know that's not true. I miss Elias so much. Please tell him I love him." He dropped the journal, his hand covering his mouth, his eyes filling with tears. "You tried," he whispered, his voice breaking. You actually tried. I was powerless. I sobbed, my legs giving out. I was a child and I couldn't save you, and it's haunted me every day since. He fell to his knees beside me, his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. I thought you knew. I thought you chose them over me. Never, I said, grabbing his face, forcing him to look at me. I would have chosen you every time, Elias. Every single time. His phone rang, shattering the moment he answered with shaking hands. What? A voice on the other end, cold and amused, loud enough for me to hear. Elias Thorne, we need to talk about the Omega you just bought. Who is this? Elias demanded, his voice hard again, the vulnerability gone. The man who owned him before you, Lawrence Peter, was mine. I had a buyer lined up. You cost me $15 million. He's legally mine now. Legal doesn't matter in my world, the voice said, dark and threatening. Here's what's going to happen. Midnight tonight, special auction. I have Lawrence's little brother. Bring the Omega or I sell the boy. The line went dead. Elias stared at the phone, his face pale, his jaw clenched. He looked at me, his eyes wide with panic. They have Matthew, he said, his voice hollow. My world stopped. My heart stopped. Everything stopped. What? How? Dimitri's men grabbed him an hour ago, he said, standing, pacing. There's an auction at midnight. They're selling him if we don't show up. I grabbed his arm, my nails digging into his skin. We have to save him, Elias, please. We, he said, his eyes searching mine. 5 minutes ago you hated me. And 5 minutes ago you wanted revenge. I shouted, my voice desperate. None of that matters if Matthew dies. He's 16. He's innocent. We have to get him back. He looked at the contract on his desk. Then at me, something shifting in his eyes. I bought you to break you, to make you suffer. Then suffer with me. I begged, my hands clasped together. Help me save my brother. Please, Elias. I'm begging you. He stared at me for a long moment, his jaw working, his fists clenched. This changes nothing between us. I don't care, I said, my voice firm despite the tears. Just help me. Another long pause. Then he grabbed his jacket, threw one at me. Get dressed. We're getting him back even if I have to burn that auction house down. We had 20 minutes to get to the warehouse. Elias drove like a maniac, weaving through traffic, running red lights. I gripped the door handle, my heart pounding, my mind racing with images of Matthew scared and alone. When we get there you stay in the car, Elias said, his eyes on the road, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. That's my brother. And you'll get him killed if you're reckless, he snapped, taking a sharp turn that threw me against the door. These people don't play games, Lawrence. They'll shoot first. I don't care, I said, my voice shaking. I'm not losing him. We screeched to a stop outside a massive warehouse. Abandoned looking, windows boarded up, but I could see lights inside through the cracks. Guards stood at every entrance, armed, alert, and dangerous. Elias's team waited in 3 black vans, 6 men total, all armed, all looking grim. They gathered around as Elias gave orders, pointing at exits, assigning positions. Buildings locked down, one guard said, showing Elias a tablet with building schematics. 20 guards minimum inside, probably more. I scanned the building, my eyes catching on something. An air vent near the roof, small, barely visible. I can fit through that. Everyone turned to look at me, Elias's face darkening. Absolutely not. I'm smaller than all of you, I said, already moving toward the building. You'll never get through the front, but I can get inside, find Matthew. Lawrence, stop. I didn't stop. I ran to the side of the building, found a dumpster, climbed on top, reached for the vent. My fingers caught the edge. I pulled myself up, my arms shaking, my body protesting. Lawrence, get down here now, Elias hissed from below. But I was already prying the vent cover off, squeezing inside. The vent was tight, claustrophobic. I could barely move forward on my elbows. Metal scraped my skin, dust filled my lungs. But I kept going, crawling through darkness toward voices ahead. Light appeared through a grate below me. I looked down, my breath catching. The warehouse floor spread out beneath me, converted into an auction room. Rows of chairs filled with alphas, a stage at the front with bright lights. And there, center stage in a metal cage, was Matthew, my baby brother, 16 years old, wearing an Omega collar, his face streaked with tears, his body shaking. He looked so small, so scared. I wanted to scream. A man in an expensive suit stood beside the cage, microphone in hand. Smiling like this was entertainment. Gentlemen, our featured lot tonight, fresh Omega, virgin, 16 years old. Starting bid $5 million. Hands shot up, alphas shouting numbers, bidding on my brother like he was property. My vision went red. My hands clenched into fists. I had to do something. I spotted a fire alarm near the vent. Reached through the grate, my fingers barely touching it. I stretched further, my shoulder screaming in pain. Finally grabbed it, pulled. The alarm blared, ear-splitting, lights flashing red. Chaos erupted below, alphas jumping from their seats, guards shouting, everyone running for exits. I kicked the grate open, dropped 15 feet to the floor, landed hard, pain shooting through my ankle. Didn't matter. I ran toward the stage, limping, pushing through the panicked crowd. Matthew, I screamed, reaching the cage, grabbing the bars. Matthew, I'm here. His head snapped up, his eyes widening. Lawrence, how did you? We're getting you out, I said. Pulling at the lock, it wouldn't budge. Where's the key? Looking for this? A voice said behind me. Smooth. Dangerous. I turned, my blood running cold. The man in the suit stood there, holding a key between his fingers, smiling like a snake. He was tall, sharp features, cold eyes. Everything about him screamed predator. Let him go, I demanded, my voice shaking. Let him go, he mocked, laughing. Your alpha ruined my sale tonight, cost me millions. Now I ruin his Omega. He snapped his fingers. Guards appeared from nowhere, grabbed my arms, dragged me toward the stage. I fought, kicked, screamed, but they were too strong. New lot, the man announced into the microphone, the alarm still blaring. 2 Omegas, brothers, sold as a pair. Whoever wants them better bid fast. The alphas who hadn't fled returned, drawn by the announcement, their eyes hungry, excited. The bidding started, numbers flying, 5 million, 8 million, 10 million. The main doors exploded inward, with splintering, metal screaming. Elias stormed through with his team, guns drawn, his face a mask of fury. Let them go, Dimitri, Elias shouted. His gun pointed at the man in the suit. So this was Dimitri, the trafficking boss, the monster who bought and sold Omegas like cattle. He smiled, pulled out a gun, pressed it against Matthew's cage. One step closer and the boy dies, Dimitri said, his voice calm, amused. Then the brother, then you. Elias froze, his team froze, everyone froze. Dimitri's smile widened, he was enjoying this, the power, the control. Drop your weapons, Dimitri ordered, his finger on the trigger. All of you now or I start shooting. Elias looked at me, his eyes conflicted, then slowly lowered his gun, set it on the floor. His team followed, 6 guns clattering to the concrete. Good, Dimitri said, walking down from the stage, circling us like prey. Now we're going to have some fun. He pulled out a tablet, started typing, turned it around to show Elias. You're going to bid for them, use your own money to buy them from me. You're insane. I'm a businessman, Dimitri corrected, his smile sharp. Starting at 20 million, what's your bid, Thorn? 25 million, Elias said through gritted teeth. An alpha in the crowd raised his hand. 30 million. 50 million, Elias countered, his voice rising. The alpha laughed, raised his hand again. 60 million. This was insane, they were bidding on us, on me and Matthew, like we were objects. I looked at my brother in the cage, his face pressed against the bars, tears streaming down his cheeks. The ledger, I shouted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. He has your trafficking ledger. The entire warehouse went silent, every alpha turning to look at Elias, then at Dmitri. Dmitri's smile vanished, his face going dark, dangerous. "What ledger?" Dmitri said, his voice low, threatening. "Elias has evidence of every Omega you've ever trafficked," I said, my voice getting stronger. "Names, dates, buyers, everything. He's been collecting evidence for years." The alphas in the crowd started backing away, murmuring, panic spreading. If that ledger went public, they'd all be implicated, arrested, ruined. "Is this true?" Dmitri demanded, turning to Elias, his gun now pointed at Elias's chest. "It's already with the FBI," Elias said, his voice calm, controlled. "You're lying," Dmitri said, but I could see doubt in his eyes, fear creeping in. "Am I?" Elias said, his hand moving slowly toward his jacket. "Don't move," Dmitri screamed, but Elias was faster, pulled out a USB drive, held it up. "This is a copy," Elias said, his voice steady. "The original is with federal agents, but this copy, I can destroy it, make this all go away." Dmitri's eyes locked on the USB, his hand shaking slightly. "Give it to me. Let them go first. Give it to me now," Dmitri shouted, firing a shot into the ceiling, dust and debris raining down. Elias threw the USB. Dmitri caught it, immediately plugged it into his tablet. His face went pale as he scrolled through files, his hands shaking. "This would destroy me," he whispered, then looked up, his eyes wild. "But you made copies, you sent it to people, you." "I can recall it," Elias said, his voice desperate now. "Let them go and I'll recall everything." Dmitri laughed, a harsh bitter sound, deleted the files on the USB, crushed it under his boot. "You think I'm stupid, you think I'd believe that." He snapped his fingers. More guards appeared from back rooms, at least 20 more, all armed, all surrounding Elias's team. We were outnumbered, outgunned, trapped. "You're all going to disappear," Dmitri said, his voice cold, final. "Every single one of you. No witnesses, no evidence, no problem." The guards forced Elias and his team to their knees, hands behind their heads, execution style. My heart stopped. This couldn't be happening, we were going to die here. Dmitri walked to Elias, pressed the gun against his forehead. "Any last words, Thorn?" A metallic scraping sound came from the cage. Everyone turned. Matthew had grabbed a dropped taser through the bars, his face determined, terrified, brave. He jammed the taser into Dmitri's leg through the bars, electricity crackling, Dmitri screaming, collapsing, his gun clattering away. I dove for the gun, grabbed it, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold it. I shot the cage lock once, twice, the metal shattering. "Matthew, run!" I screamed, pulling the cage door open. He stumbled out, I grabbed his hand, we ran. Gunfire erupted behind us, Elias's team fighting back, chaos exploding through the warehouse. We ran through rows of chairs, past the stage, toward a back exit. Guards chased us, shooting, bullets hitting walls, sparking off metal. The exit was chained from the outside, we were trapped. I spun around, Matthew pressed against my back, guards closing in from all sides. Elias appeared from nowhere, tackled a guard, grabbed his gun, and started shooting. His team fought their way to us, forming a protective circle, returning fire. "We're pinned," one team member shouted, reloading. "Too many of them." Elias looked around wildly, his eyes landing on something across the warehouse. Large barrels stacked against the wall, red warning labels, gasoline. "Everyone get down," Elias screamed, aimed carefully, fired. The bullet hit a barrel, sparks flew. Then boom. The explosion was deafening, fire erupting, spreading fast across the floor. Guards scattered, screaming, running from the flames. "Move now," Elias shouted, grabbing my arm, pulling me and Matthew toward a side wall. He kicked a boarded window once, twice, the wood splintering. We crashed through into the night air, hitting pavement hard, rolling. Behind us the warehouse was engulfed, flames shooting through the roof, black smoke billowing into the sky. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer, red and blue lights appearing down the street. FBI vans screeched to a stop, agents pouring out, surrounding the building, surrounding us. We lay on the ground, coughing, covered in soot and ash, barely breathing. Dmitri stumbled out of the warehouse, his suit burned, his face blackened, screaming incoherently. FBI agents tackled him, cuffed him, dragged him away as he fought and cursed. More guards came out with hands up, surrendering, getting arrested one by one. It was over, finally over. Paramedics rushed to us, checking vitals, putting oxygen masks on our faces. I held Matthew's hand, squeezing tight, both of us shaking, both of us alive. "You're okay." I kept saying over and over. "You're okay. I've got you." An FBI agent approached, a middle-aged woman, stern face, badge displayed. "Lawrence Peter." I looked up, my vision blurry from smoke and tears. "Yes, your family lawyer has been trying to reach you for 3 days," she said, holding out a large envelope. "Your grandfather died. This is his will." My hands shook as I took the envelope, ripped it open, pulled out official documents. I scanned the pages, legal terms I barely understood, then saw the number. $50 billion. "You're the sole heir to the Peter medical empire," the agent continued, her voice matter of fact. "Everything goes to you." I stared at the papers, my mind unable to process 50 billion. That couldn't be real. "There's more," the agent said, pulling out another document. "Your Uncle Richard filed an emergency court order 2 hours ago." "For what?" I asked, my voice hollow. "To have you declared mentally unfit due to trauma," she said, her expression sympathetic. "He's requesting guardianship and control of the inheritance, claiming you're incapable of managing assets." My stomach dropped, the papers fell from my hands. "He's challenging the will. The hearing is tomorrow at 9 a.m., the agent said. "If you don't appear, the court rules in his favor by default, you lose everything." Elias grabbed the papers, read them quickly, his face darkening. "This is a setup. They're using your trauma against you." "Can they do that?" Matthew asked, his voice small, scared. "If the judge agrees you're unfit, yes," the agent said. "I'm sorry, but you need to be in court tomorrow morning, no exceptions." She walked away, leaving us sitting on the curb, covered in ash, surrounded by burning wreckage, holding documents that could change everything or take everything away. "What do we do?" I whispered, looking at Elias, then at Matthew. Elias stood, helped me up, his jaw set. "We go to court, we fight, and we make sure your family doesn't steal what's yours." We went straight to the Peter family mansion. No time to clean up, still covered in soot and ash from the fire. The gates opened automatically, like they knew I was coming, like they'd been waiting. 30 relatives packed the grand hall, all dressed in black like they were mourning. But their eyes were hungry, predatory, circling. Uncle Richard stood at the head of the room, perfectly pressed suit, smile sharp as a knife. "There he is, the auction whore." Laughter rippled through the crowd, cousins whispering, aunts covering their mouths, eyes gleaming with cruelty. I felt Elias tense beside me, Matthew pressed close to my other side. The family lawyer, an old man with gray hair and tired eyes, cleared his throat. "The will states everything goes to Lawrence Peter, sole grandson of." "He's defective," Uncle Richard interrupted, his voice booming. "Mentally unstable, traumatized. Unfit to run a medical empire worth $50 billion. Aunt Helen stepped forward, phone in hand, smiled sweetly. "We have proof." She pressed play. The auction video filled a massive screen on the wall. Me naked on stage, collar around my neck, crying, humiliated. The family watched, some laughing, some making disgusted faces. I couldn't breathe, my chest tight, reliving every second, every cruel word, every mocking laugh. Elias grabbed my hand, squeezed hard. "This Omega was sold like cattle," Uncle Richard said, gesturing at the screen. "He's been trafficked, abused, bonded to a criminal against his will." "I'm not a criminal," Elias said, his voice dangerous. "Really?" Aunt Helen said, pulling up another video. FBI records show you've been under investigation for years. For taking down trafficking rings, Elias countered, stepping forward. I helped arrest Dimitri tonight. Doesn't matter, Uncle Richard said, waving his hand dismissively. The optics are terrible. He's clearly been manipulated, controlled. He needs protection. Cousin James, always the cruelest, laughed from the back. Look at him. He can't even speak without crying. Pathetic. The lawyer tried again, his voice weak. The will is legally binding. I'm contesting it, Uncle Richard said, slamming papers on the table. I have 3 psychiatrists ready to testify he has severe PTSD. Cannot make sound decisions. Needs a guardian. We have medical records, Aunt Helen added, spreading documents across the table. Diagnosis from the hospital after the auction. Acute trauma, dissociation. He's mentally incompetent. Tomorrow's hearing will prove it, Uncle Richard said, his smile widening. This fortune belongs to the family, not some broken Omega who spreads his legs for strangers. I flinched, the words cutting deep, tears burning my eyes. The room erupted in agreement, voices overlapping, calling me names, telling me I didn't deserve anything. Enough, the lawyer said, but no one listened. Uncle Richard walked toward me, his face close to mine, his breath hot. Sign over the inheritance. I'll drop the case. You and your alpha can disappear with a small trust fund. He pulled out papers, set them on the table with a pen. $10 million. Live comfortably, walk away. That's 10 million versus 50 billion, I said, my voice shaking. It's 10 million versus losing in court and getting nothing, he corrected, his smile cold. Choose wisely. Elias pushed between us, his chest against Uncle Richard's. He's not signing anything. Then you're both fools, Uncle Richard said, stepping back. See you in court. He turned to leave, then paused, looked back with a smile that made my blood run cold. Oh, and Lawrence, such a shame about your brother. My heart stopped. What about Matthew? Did you know he just turned 16? Uncle Richard said, pulling out his phone, showing photos of Matthew. Perfect age for Omega registration. You wouldn't, I whispered, but I could see in his eyes he would. Omega trafficking is illegal, he continued, his voice casual, conversational. But legal registration programs, government-sanctioned, perfectly above board. Some states allow mandatory registration of Omegas at 16. Aunt Helen added, her smile matching her brother's. Especially Omegas without proper guardians. I'm his guardian, I said, my voice rising. Not if you're declared unfit tomorrow, Uncle Richard said, shrugging. Then he becomes a ward of the state, and certain programs, certain buyers, well, they pay very well for young registered Omegas. Matthew grabbed my arm, his face pale. Lawrence, sign the papers, Uncle Richard said, tapping the contract. Or I register him tonight, and by tomorrow he'll be in a facility waiting for the highest bidder. I reached for the pen, my hand shaking, my vision blurring. If I sign, you leave him alone. Lawrence, don't, Elias said, grabbing my wrist. I have to, I said, tears streaming down my face. I can't let him hurt Matthew. My fingers closed around the pen, lifted it to the paper, about to sign my name. Matthew grabbed the paper, ripped it in half. No, I won't let you give up everything for me. Matthew, stop. Brave boy, Uncle Richard said, snapping his fingers. That courage will make you very popular at auction. Guards appeared from side doors, not family guards, private security, expensive, dangerous. They grabbed Matthew, pulled him away from me. Wait, I screamed, trying to reach him. I'll sign. Just let him go. Too late, Uncle Richard said, his smile vicious. I'm registering him anyway, teaching you what happens when you refuse me. Let him go, I begged, falling to my knees. Please, take the money. Take everything, just don't hurt him. Uncle Richard leaned down, his face inches from mine. See you in court, where you'll lose everything anyway. The guards dragged Matthew toward the door. He was fighting, screaming, calling my name. I tried to follow, Elias tried to stop them, but more guards blocked our way. The doors slammed shut, Matthew's screams cutting off, silence filling the mansion. Uncle Richard straightened his tie, picked up the torn contract, smiled. "Pity," he said, walking toward the door. "Could have been easy." He left, the entire family following, leaving me and Elias alone in the massive empty hall. I collapsed on the floor, my whole body shaking, my mind breaking. "We'll get him back," Elias said, pulling out his phone, making calls. "Registration takes 24 hours to process. We have time." "The hearing is in 6 hours," I said, my voice hollow. "We can't do both." "Then we do both," he said, his voice firm. "We win in court, save Matthew, end this." His phone rang, he answered immediately. "Talk to me." His investigator's voice came through, urgent, excited. "I found something on Richard Peter. Big, really big." "Send it now," Elias said, putting it on speaker. Files started coming through, bank records, emails, security footage. Elias opened them, his eyes widening with each one. "He paid Dimitri $2 million 3 weeks ago," Elias said, showing me the screen. "Your uncle arranged your trafficking." My stomach turned, bile rising. "What?" "He wanted you traumatized so he could claim you were unfit," Elias continued, scrolling through more files. "He planned this entire thing." More files appeared, medical records, lab results. "Your grandfather's death," the investigator said through the phone. "Cause listed as heart failure, but I got the private autopsy." And Elias prompted. "Poison, slow acting, administered over weeks. Your uncle killed his own father." The room spun. I couldn't breathe. My uncle murdered my grandfather, trafficked me, was trying to sell Matthew. This wasn't about money. This was pure evil. "Can we use this in court?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "We can use it everywhere," Elias said, his smile sharp, dangerous. "Court, police, FBI, we bury him." 6 hours later we stood in a packed courtroom. Every seat filled, cameras everywhere. Media covering what they called the Omega Air trial. I wore a borrowed suit, too big, still smelled like smoke. The judge entered, elderly woman, stern face, no-nonsense eyes. "This is a competency hearing for Lawrence Peter regarding inheritance of the Peter medical empire." Uncle Richard's lawyer stood, expensive suit, practiced smile. "Your Honor, will prove Mr. Peter is mentally unfit to manage 50 billion in assets." They played the auction video again, on huge screens, every detail visible, my naked body, my tears, my humiliation. The courtroom murmured, some sympathetic, some judgmental. A psychiatrist testified, professional, clinical. Classic trauma response, acute PTSD, dissociative episodes. He's clearly incapable of making sound financial decisions. They showed my medical records, diagnosis after diagnosis, made me sound broken, damaged, incompetent. The judge listened, her face unreadable, taking notes. "Your Honor," Uncle Richard's lawyer continued, "my client Richard Peter is a respected businessman, devoted family member. He only wants to protect his traumatized nephew. By taking $50 billion, I muttered. Elias squeezed my hand. Our lawyer stood, young woman, fierce eyes, ready for war. "Your Honor, we have new evidence we'd like to present." "Proceed," the judge said. Our lawyer pulled up financial records on the screen. Richard Peter transferred $2 million to known trafficker Dmitry Volkov 3 weeks before the auction. The courtroom erupted, journalists scrambling, cameras flashing. Uncle Richard shot to his feet. "That's fabricated. We have bank records, wire transfers, email correspondence." Our lawyer continued, clicking through evidence. Richard Peter arranged his nephew's trafficking to make him appear unfit. "This is absurd," Uncle Richard shouted, his face red. "We also have testimony from Dmitry Volkov himself," our lawyer said, playing a video. Dmitry appeared on screen, in an FBI interrogation room, bruised and burned. "Richard Peter hired me to traumatize his nephew, paid me $2 million, said it would be worth it when he got the inheritance." The courtroom exploded, everyone talking at once, the judge banging her gavel. Order, order in this court. Furthermore, our lawyer said, pulling up new documents, we have evidence Richard Peter poisoned his father, Lawrence's grandfather, to accelerate the inheritance. Medical records filled the screen, toxicology reports, poison levels. Slow-acting arsenic, administered over 6 weeks. Your grandfather didn't die of heart failure, he was murdered. Uncle Richard was screaming now, his lawyer trying to calm him, guards moving toward him. You can't prove anything. We have your pharmacy records, our lawyer said, showing prescription purchases. You bought the exact compounds found in your father's system. FBI agents entered the courtroom, walked straight to Uncle Richard. Richard Peter, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit human trafficking, attempted fraud, and murder. This is a setup, Uncle Richard screamed as they cuffed him. That Omega is manipulating everyone. They dragged him out, still screaming, his lawyer following helplessly. The judge banged her gavel repeatedly, trying to restore order. Based on this evidence, the judge said, her voice cutting through the chaos, I rule in favor of Lawrence Peter. Full inheritance granted. All challenges dismissed. Relief flooded through me, my legs giving out, Elias catching me. We won, we actually won. However, the judge continued, there's still the matter of Matthew Peter. Omega registration filed by Richard Peter must be addressed. My relief vanished, replaced by panic. Where is he? Where's my brother? Our lawyer checked her phone, her face going pale. He's at the state registration center. Processing started an hour ago. I ran, didn't wait for permission, didn't wait for anyone, just ran out of the courtroom, down the steps, into Elias's car. He drove like before, breaking every traffic law, sirens following us. The registration center was a cold government building, sterile, clinical, horrifying. We burst through doors, I shoved past security, found the processing wing. Matthew lay on an exam table, unconscious, a doctor standing over him with a large syringe, about to inject him with the permanent Omega identification chip. Stop! I screamed, running forward, knocking the syringe from the doctor's hand. Security grabbed me, pulled me back. I fought like an animal. That's my brother, you can't. We have authorization, the doctor said, picking up the syringe. Richard Peter filed. Richard Peter is under arrest for murder, Elias shouted, showing his phone with news footage. This registration is invalid. Our lawyer burst in behind us, waving court documents. Emergency order from Judge Martinez. Lawrence Peter has full guardianship. This registration is illegal. Stop immediately. The doctor stepped back, reading the papers, his face going pale. We didn't know. Wake him up, I demanded, moving to Matthew's side. Now. They reversed the sedation. Matthew's eyes fluttered open, confused, scared. Lawrence, I'm here, I said, holding his hand, tears streaming down my face. You're safe, I've got you. We signed him out, ignored the protests, the paperwork, just took him and left. Outside the building, I held Matthew while he cried. Both of us shaking, both of us alive, both of us free. 3 weeks later, I stood in the Peter mansion, now legally mine, all 30 relatives gathered in the grand hall again. But this time they weren't laughing, they were nervous, scared. You called us here, Aunt Helen said, her voice small. I did, I said, standing at the head of the room where Uncle Richard stood before. You laughed when I was on that stage, called me defective, broken, a whore. They looked at their feet, at the walls, anywhere but at me. You tried to steal everything my grandfather left me. I continued, my voice steady. You helped Uncle Richard, covered for him, participated in his plans. We didn't know about the murder, Cousin James said quickly. But you knew about the trafficking, I said, my eyes cold. You watched that video and laughed. I handed my lawyer a stack of envelopes. You're all disinherited, removed from the family trust. Every single one of you. You can't do that, Aunt Helen protested. I already did, I said, nodding to security. You have 1 hour to leave this property. Anything you leave behind becomes mine. We're family, someone shouted from the back. No, I said, my voice final. Family doesn't do what you did. Now get out of my house. Security escorted them out one by one, some crying, some cursing, some begging. I watched them go, felt nothing but relief. When the mansion was empty except for me, Elias, and Matthew, I finally breathed. The lawyer approached with final papers. The Peter medical empire is fully under your control, she said. 50 billion in assets, what's your first move? I looked at the papers, at the number, at everything my grandfather built. I'm starting a foundation. $40 billion dedicated to ending Omega trafficking. The lawyer's eyes widened. That's almost everything. I don't need 50 billion, I said, signing the papers. I need other Omegas to never go through what I did. Free Omega clinics, legal defense funds, safe houses, education programs. I continued, my voice getting stronger. Every Omega who escapes trafficking gets support, protection, a real chance. I signed the final paper, creating the Peter Medical Empire Omega Protection Fund, the largest anti-trafficking organization in the country. A week later, the first Omega arrived at our new shelter. A girl barely 18, scared, traumatized, saved from an auction like mine. She hugged me, crying, thanking me. You saved yourself, I told her, remembering what Elias told me. You survived, that's what matters. That night I came home to find Elias cooking dinner, Matthew doing homework at the Kit Peter table, normal, domestic, perfect. This was family, real family, chosen family. The doorbell rang, Elias answered it, came back with a massive bouquet of flowers, so many he could barely carry them. The card read, "From the 200 Omegas freed this month because of you." I burst into tears, happy tears, overwhelmed tears. Elias pulled me close, Matthew hugged us both. We stood there in our Kit Peter, holding each other, crying and laughing. "I'm starting college next month," Matthew said, his voice muffled against my shoulder. "Social work major, gonna help Omegas too. You'll be amazing," I said, squeezing him tighter. "Hey," Elias said, pulling back to look at me, his eyes soft, vulnerable. "I need to ask you something." He got down on one knee right there in the Kit Peter, pulled out a ring, simple, perfect, beautiful. "Marry me. I've loved you since we were 12. I'm not waiting another 10 years. "Yes," I said before he finished, pulling him up, kissing him hard. "Yes, yes, yes." Matthew cheered, hugged us both. We spun around the Kit Peter laughing. Elias slipped the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. "Can I be best man?" Matthew asked, his smile wide. "Obviously," Elias and I said together, all three of us laughing. Later that night, after Matthew went to bed, Elias and I sat on the balcony overlooking the city, his arm around me, my head on his shoulder. Stars filled the sky. The city lights sparkled below. "I love you," I said, the words feeling natural, right? True. "I love you too," he said, kissing my forehead. "Always have, always will." I took his hand, placed it on my stomach, my heart pounding. "There's something I need to tell you." He looked at me, his eyes questioning, waiting. "I'm pregnant," I whispered, watching his face. His eyes widened, his mouth opened, closed, opened again. "What? How? You're defective." "Apparently not," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Doctor confirmed it yesterday. 8 weeks. It's yours." He stared at me, then at my stomach, then back at me. Tears filled his eyes, spilled over. He pulled me close, buried his face in my neck. "We're having a baby," he whispered, his voice breaking. "We're having a family," I corrected, holding him tight. "A real family," he said, pulling back to look at me, his smile wide, his eyes bright. "Our family." He kissed me soft and deep, his hand on my stomach, our baby growing inside me. The boy I loved at 12, lost at 12, found again at 22, now the father of my child. "Thank you," I whispered against his lips. "For what?" he asked, his forehead pressed to mine. "For coming back," I said, my voice thick with emotion. For saving me, for loving me, for this. Thank you for staying, he said, his thumb wiping my tears. For fighting, for forgiving me, for giving me a second chance. We sat there holding each other, the night warm around us, the future bright ahead of us. We survived trafficking, betrayal, family wars, nearly dying, and came out stronger. This was our ending, our beginning, our everything. Together, the end.